think of me passing by, you think you see me coming. I wonder if you pull me in, kiss me just one time again. It's in the final hours of night, do you remember? Lost or found, love lying by your side. It's in the final hours of night, do you remember? Lost or found, love lying by your side. Days will keep on coming and the nights will keep on going till they're tired. Falling fast asleep and as they dream of ghosts of beats filled with desire. The chance of life is all around, a chance to take is always found. Oh, writing on the lullabies, I'm alone and living life. Oh, in the final hours of night, do you remember? Lost or found, love lying by your side. In the final hours of night, do you remember? Lost or found, love lying by your side. Take another second, take a breathing in the moment before it's gone. Never know when love is lost until you find just what it costs to be wrong. I wonder if you think of me passing by, you think you see me coming. I wonder if you pull me in, kiss me just one time again. The final hours of night, do you remember? Lost or found, love lying by your side. In the final hours of night, do you remember? Lost or found, love lying by your side. In the final hours of night, do you remember? Lost or found, love lying by your side. In the final hours of night, do you remember? Lost or found, love lying by your side.
Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
Come out of the house. I need love. Oh,
Hey everybody, we're back. We're back. This is Jim Saranteas from thefantasygreek.com on Late Night Sports Radio. You're joining us for our NFL football Super Power Hour, where we just come at you with different stories, different people in media, in the game. And tonight we are joined by fantasygreek.com's Dallas Cowboys contributor, Ben Franklin. Ben, how are you tonight?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Ben, thank you for joining us. Apologize for the delay from earlier, but as they say, sometimes you have technical difficulties and sometimes you don't. Anyway, Ben, just we were talking a little bit before we came on the air, and you know, this wasn't on our rundown for the show, but I'll tell you, in the preseason, when it came to the Dallas Cowboys, myself included in this, there was so much criticism dropped on Jerry Jones, dropped on the coaching staff of the Cowboys, dropped on the personnel of the Cowboys. I mean, we were saying point blank that the Cowboys would have one of the worst defenses in the league this season, but everything that everyone said in the preseason turned out to pretty much be wrong. I mean, were you surprised about any of that?
Oh, I was shocked and excited. I mean, you look at what Jerry Jones has said the past couple of years. He's been the biggest promoter of we're going to be so amazing. We're going to the Super Bowl. We're going to be the best team ever. And even this year, even Jerry was humbled. He was saying, I don't think we're going to be that good. You should taper your expectations. We're not going to be the elite team we have been. And in the first game of the year, it showed. I mean, San Francisco just came out and made the Cowboys look like they were just going to have the worst year ever. And I can tell you, as a fan, I didn't expect anything better than 5-11. But to see him turn that around and go 12-4, I mean, that was just incredible.
Ben, it absolutely was. And, I mean, everything from Jason Garrett on down sort of really things went differently than all of us had expected. And from your perspective, having covered the team for the season, what do you think? What happened? What do you think helped them make a season like this one, where they came just one? I would argue one touchdown away from going to the NFC Championship.
Absolutely. I gotta say, it was mostly the defense. In that first game, that was for Tony Romo's really first full game back. He didn't play much in the preseason, and that back was still tender, coming off 2 back surgeries, and he just had a hard time getting any rhythm going. I mean, even DeMarco Murray, he came out that game, had over 100 yards, and showed the essence of a running game again. That was refreshing. And the defense, I mean, after the historically bad year they had last year, the fact that they came out, and I believe in the San Francisco game, they didn't allow it. If it may have been no score or maybe just a field goal in the second half. And that kind of carried over into the second game. And, they really used that next man up mentality. And, when Sean Lee got hurt in the preseason, I mean, that everyone thought, oh, this is going to be even worse than we thought it was. But, all these no-name people really stepped up and played better than they really could have.
And, when you look at it from the coaching, and it's funny that you talk about the defense. There's so many things you could say about the offense this season, especially the offensive line, before you even get to any of the playmakers. But in terms of the defense, I know Keith is still here in the background and seems to be very happy with how these interviews are going. Right, Keith?
Oh, you're knocking it out of the park. I can only sully it.
You could. But somebody that we've been high on for pretty much the entire season has been Rod Marinelli. What do you think about that?
The job he's done with these guys, I mean, he really gets into their, he makes them play in every down, and they run to the ball every play. And guys like Sterling Moore and Justin Durant and even Roe McClain, they all stepped up so beyond what everyone expected them to be. He really pulled them together. And when somebody went down, like Durant went on the injury reserve, when Claiborne went down, he really got in their head and said, look, this is your time, go do something. And they did. I mean, this team really came together, and especially when Skandrick came off suspension, they just played as a unit. And sure, they gave up some big plays, like Brandon Carr got burned a few times, but after that, they really buckled down, and after that, they could adjust really well. They kept fighting, and really they just never gave up.
And I agree with you there, Ben. I mean, this defense seemed to play relentlessly at times this season, and somebody that really stood out in my mind was Rolando McClain. So my question to you on Rolando, is he the real deal, and should the Cowboys re-sign him? Because he's a free agent.
Yeah, he's absolutely the real deal. I mean, coming, I believe, out of Alabama, back in Oakland, he was a freak athlete. Everyone knew that he had the football knowledge. He was a really smart, very teachable, and that's the key part, is he's teachable. He already has the instincts, and he showed that in Oakland. He showed that in Baltimore. But I've watched a few interviews on him, and he just said that he fell out of love with football, and he just couldn't get into it because, well, in Oakland he wasn't winning, and in Baltimore he just didn't get the feeling that he had back in college. And when Jerry Jones came to him in the offseason, he got some workouts in, he saw the system, and he said that he fell in love with football again. And man, when you see him actually trying and healthy, he is just a force on the field. And after only being there for a few months, all the defensive players, most of which were young guys coming up to replace injured guys, they all said, our leader's Rolando McClain. I mean, he hadn't even been there that long, and he was already their defensive leader just because of the straight knowledge that he had about the game.
And Ben, you talk about Rolando McClain. You talk about. I mean, it seemed to me that whatever he was going through was infectious. He wasn't just the only player that sort of fell back in love with the game. It seemed to be something that the entire team fell back in love with, and I think we saw it. Look at the top playmakers like DeMarco Murray and Dez Bryant. Who, by the way, DeMarco Murray, this was his first season that, for the most part, he was healthy the entire way and got to play week 1 and finish in week 16, even though almost there at the end he didn't. But when you look at this 2014 team, do you think it can do it again in 2015 and do better?
Absolutely. I mean, you look at the beginning of the year, and Tony Romo wasn't healthy. They didn't have Skandrick. They didn't have Rolando wasn't up to full strength. They didn't have half their middle linebackers. They didn't have really anybody that was truly healthy, and nobody knew what the offensive line was capable of yet. So the first 4 weeks, they were still figuring things out. I mean, the game against the Rams, that was a scary game. Beating Seattle was what really kind of set this team up as these Cowboys are for real. They really are a good group. And looking back at Rolando, he just has that spark. And they said that when he was on the field, doesn't matter where the football was, he was getting to it. And they definitely, I think, need to re-sign him. While Sean Lee could be back and he'll be healthy, he's always been plagued by injuries. And as you mentioned, if they do re-sign DeMarco Murray, this was his first season not being injured. So we're wondering how well he can hold up next year, because I believe he almost had 500 touches this year. So, I mean, they really did just play above themselves. And I definitely think they can repeat that next year, because most of the guys that they had were 1-year contracts, and those were low-paying contracts. So if they can get those guys back for similar prices, they should be good.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I know we've got Keith here in the background, sort of kicking back, being kind of quiet, not really being involved. I got a feeling this next question will get him to pop up and jump in. We fast forward up to the divisional round game against the Green Bay Packers, and you've got this battle that's taking place between the Green Bay Packers, Dallas Cowboys in Lambeau Field, and in my opinion, Cowboys win this game if the quote touchdown pass to Dez Bryant was actually called a touchdown pass. Do you agree?
I'd say yes and no. Yes, because that was just such a key moment of the game. Fourth down, he caught it at the 1-yard line, and really just that whole controversy just kind of took the wind out of everyone. But, there were moments in that game, especially I think the biggest turning point was the DeMarco Murray fumble. I mean, if you look at that picture of what he saw, there was no Packers behind him. He saw green in the end zone. So he doesn't fumble there. That's 7 points. The catch doesn't really matter. But I definitely do think the catch was impactful. It definitely took the wind out of the Cowboys' sails. I mean, Dez was beside himself on the sideline. It seemed to really just take it all out, and you saw it on their defensive play.
And I appreciate that. That's very astute of you to sort of look at the whole game and say, look, it wasn't just this one play that made the difference. There was another one that could have made the difference. But when we get back to what ended up being, in many people's minds, a controversial call, and to others it seemed very straightforward, what is your understanding as to why it was not a catch?
Well, they initially ruled it a catch